Hello, my name is Arnav Goswami, and I'm a junior from Maple Valley. Recently, in legislation, data centers have been brought up as emerging large energy users that can affect grid reliability, ratepayer costs, water use, and emissions. And at the same time, they're often framed as important economic growth drivers in Washington state. When considering such policies, how do you balance the environmental concerns against the financial benefits they may bring?
Thank you for that question. That's a great question to be asking right now, and I have heard it from so many constituents, newspaper reporters, etc. How are we going to deal with this boom in demand for data centers? One of the things is that I am a technology optimist. I think that nobody really enjoys filling out an expense report, and this is something that AI could do a better job of. It could free us from the kind of drudgery parts of some of our office jobs. So it's our job to figure out how to regulate that adequately, and that includes making sure that the new AI models are safe, that cloud storage is secure, and that we're respecting people's privacy. The other piece of this is all that sustainability work that you spoke about. And so one of the things that we don't understand very well enough is the water usage. The data centers will tell you that they use closed use systems, that they are making sure that they're being very water efficient. Great. Show us the information, show us the data. We want to be able to check on that and understand the water impacts, because when you don't tell that, people take the worst possible scenario and they think that's what's happening. The other big piece of this is the energy piece. So we know that we need to build more energy for Washingtonians as we start electrifying transportation, heating, etc. We're seeing booms in manufacturing. We'll see if that plays out, but also in the data center piece. And so we need to make sure that we're honoring our Climate Commitment Act, that we're honoring our 100% clean electricity standards. And I think actually data centers can be a piece of that if we set up the structure so that they can be a piece of that, and we can really trust that these investments are being made with our environmental goals in line. So data centers have been a boon to the local communities where they've been sited. If you look at Quincy, they are paying lower property taxes because the data centers are picking up such a big piece of that. One of the things that also, as someone who loves sidewalks because I like to bike and walk with my kids, they went from about 5% of the roads having sidewalks to 95% of the roads. That's incredible rural economic development, and I think that's great. But I think we need to make sure that some of this is being shared more widely with the people of Washington state, because they are such big energy users. So we have a bill that says data centers need to pay their full cost. That means that if they can't be cut off during an emergency, well, then they need to pay the price of that extra expensive electricity. That can't fall on your grandma. If there is some sort of unanticipated emergency, we need to make sure that data centers are curtailed again before grandma. I don't think that it would be politically acceptable to keep the data centers running on a scarce electricity grid while your grandmother's cold and in the dark. The other piece of this too is that data centers have the opportunity to help us go a little bit above and beyond. So we have a bill that puts a half a penny on every kilowatt hour fee that they use of energy, and what we have that going to is capital projects to help out with low-income weatherization, low-income energy assistance, make sure that we're really taking care of communities as we go through this boom and that everyone's a part of it. And then another piece of this is on higher ed, because as we see, not all the data centers are AI, but as we see an expansion of AI, we want to make sure that we're thinking about the next generation who's going to be particularly impacted by this boom and this change in the way that we do work.
Hey, Arnav, that's a wonderful question, and it is absolutely front and center of the economy of Washington state and from a different perspective, our entire nation. The data centers are amazing. Everybody loves Grok, ChatGPT, whatever your favorite artificial intelligence platform is. Everybody's using it, number one. And number two, all the tech companies are getting involved because they see that they want to be on the leading edge of the future. There's revenue for them to make it. And so the issue is, how do they get the power to provide for the electricity they need for these data centers? And you're spot on. I am seeing some reports. I'm on the Environment and Energy Committee. So we're getting briefings that the amount of electricity we use in Washington state could triple or quadruple in the next 10 to 20 years because of the data centers. and that is humongous growth. Clearly, we cannot supply that electricity with our quote unquote green energy, the solar and wind that is variable when it generates. There are small amounts of tweaking we can do to our hydroelectric power generation, but the honest answer is we need all of the above. We need nuclear, we need natural gas, we need to add to our solar and wind and everything. Ultimately, business is going there. Our high tech firms are going there, and they're going to find a way to get that. What we don't want is power brownouts, blackouts, or things happening when we get a bad weather event or other things where electric demand goes abnormally high. And so clearly the answer is that is the future. How do we respond? Challenges on that are not only on the generation side, but also on the power transmission side. How do we get the power to where the data centers are and to where the people are? Generally speaking, painting with a broad brush, we generate an awful lot of power over in eastern Washington, but the users are over west of the Cascades. That means power transmission lines. So there's a total separate conversation on, do we build new transmission lines? Do we upgrade transmission lines? Down near me, I'm down in Vancouver, Washington, and in Clark County, there's currently discussion that just started on a proposed power transmission line coming from the Dalles in eastern Oregon down the Columbia River, and then it's going to have to go around the Bonneville Dam, back into the river, and ultimately, if you will, plugging into the power grid in North Portland. And so there's some environmental concerns, et cetera, but the goal is they have the ability to generate the power over in eastern Oregon. They want to get it to the users over on the western side of the Cascades. And so that's starting there. We are also looking at how can we upgrade existing transmission lines so that you don't have to build new ones, and therefore you've already got a footprint and a pathway to bring the power to the users. That is a wonderful discussion, and ideally, if we can upgrade existing power lines, that's better than doing new ones. And finally, there's a whole new technology coming out, small modular nuclear power. And so you can have something that's a 3, 4, 5, 6 acre site and put a very small modular nuclear reactor on it, and it can generate enough power for a small city for like 10 to 20 years before it needs to be refueled. And therefore, you could bring the source of generating the power to where the people are. And so that's an exciting technology. Just had a briefing yesterday from some people involved in the nuclear power business. They are currently working to build their very first small modular nuclear power plant over in eastern Washington. Once they get that up online, we'll be able to test it. And ultimately, hopefully, it'll be done on time, on budget, and they'll say, we can replicate this, and then they can begin offering that elsewhere around the state. A different aspect of that is private industry, very much willing to invest money. Bill Gates, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, all very much involved in needing power for the data centers. So they're willing to invest a lot of their capital, which means we don't have to spend your tax dollars on it. And that's wonderful. Our job is to get the regulations, get it done right so that we're sure it's safe, but also not get in the way, because at the end of the day, within the next decade, we're going to need power sources coming online. And so data centers are going to be absolutely the biggest user of that electricity. And so our job is to move up front as fast as we can in a safe manner to set the policies so that these private sector companies can go out and build them and bring that power generating capacity to not only the data centers, but delightfully, what we were briefed on yesterday, Amazon involved as a part owner of this one they're building in Eastern Washington, and they're not going to consume all the electricity. They are willing to share with the rest of the grid more electricity for other users over there in the state. And that's a wonderful partnership, and I applaud them for that, which means the data center's not going to build something and suck up all of it. They're going to share it. And that's a good thing for all of us. So, wonderful question. A lot of things to study and follow, but we need to add power and transmission to Washington State and the whole Northwest.